All right, let's go and transition to these China tariffs, because this is the biggest part of the story. Let's go and put this up there on the screen. Quote, the rift is here. This is from Bill Ackman, who has, I guess, been kind of a Cassandra around these tariffs in terms of being in the MAGA orbit. He says, the rift is healing. China, quote, asks for relief from the tariffs, creating an opening for a 90-day China tariff pause and negotiations. Remember previously that Bill was one of the first big MAGA people to call for a 90-day pause, and that did eventually become the eventual policy. Nobody knows necessarily if he was responsible for that, but I'm paying attention just because previously what he had called for was something that Trump was willing to listen. But the thing is that as these China tariffs start to set in, and remember, they are the policy. This is the policy of the United States government. These are being hit right now with these tariffs. It is somewhat funny. There's been some news about how Doge fired the entire team to collect the tariffs. So the amount of revenue actually coming in right now is zero. Although my wife is a trade expert and I asked her, and she said that actually tariffs are liable to, it's kind of like taxes. Even if you don't pay on April 15th, you still owe it. Yeah, so they're coming. Yeah, they're not going to forget. You have 270 days or something.
They're trying to find those guys' phone number, get them back in.
Right, they're going to get them back in. Eventually, yeah. So if you're an exporter, don't cheat, because you will be.
If you're those fired Doge, you were fired by Doge and you worked on tariffs,
right,
you're getting offered many millions of dollars to work for the private sector to show them how to get out of these tariffs.
Right. I'm starting a boutique consulting firm, going to work for NVIDIA tomorrow if I'm one of those folks. But as we said, the tariffs are now in place. This is the policy. We have 145% tariffs. The Chinese are roughly around 83% on their tariffs. They say they won't go any higher. There has been some, quote, exemption. Again, nobody knows what's going on, but arguably it's the Chinese tariffs do not matter as much as where those targeted tariffs are. And so this was the single biggest news to me. Let's put it up there on the screen. And obviously we've been covering it from last week and we knew it was coming. But China has now, quote, halted critical exports as the trade war intensified. They have suspended exports of certain rare earth minerals and magnets that are crucial for the world's car, semiconductor, and aerospace industries. Now, this is a very important story because it really does reveal the entire game. Quote, 90% of the 6 rare earth minerals, which they have now ordered export licenses restrictions on, are produced in China and refined in China. The metals and the special magnets made with them can now only be shipped out of China with a special export license for which U.S. companies no longer qualify. Quote, but China has barely started even setting up that system for issuing those licenses, meaning that the concentration there is a complete freeze. If factories in Detroit and elsewhere run out of these rare earth magnets that would prevent them from assembling cars and products with electric motors that require them, companies vary widely in their size of emergency stockpiles, so the timing of production disruption is very hard to predict. But the main flag was actually a quote that was buried deep within, which just shows you the rot at the center of the U.S. economy. Quote, many American companies keep little or no inventory because they do not want to tie up cash in stockpiles of costly materials. One of the metals, for example, subject to the new controls, dysprosium oxide, trades for $204 per kilogram in Shanghai, but much, much more than that outside of China. Meaning that you, first of all, you would be competing for almost 10% of whatever of the minerals or the refined minerals and magnets and other inputs that you need for your car. But second, that you are in a situation where when you create, and produce over 90% of something and you yourself have nothing on the balance sheet, again, we are looking at just a freeze of economic activity. I would rather shut my entire production line down at that point and just wait and see what the hell is going to happen. The exact opposite of what you want in an intended policy. So remember, they have a lot of cards here. The infamous line, like, you have no cards. That's true for Ukraine, not true whenever it comes to China. When you said it so well, was it with a monkey? If you're going to grab onto something you want to grab, make sure that you have something else. If you're going to let go, you want to
let go one vine.
We have no planning here for U.S. companies. We have no tax incentive. We have no strategic stockpile. We have a strategic stockpile of oil. But we've been talking about this now for a decade. You and I, how many discussions have we had about onshoring? We went through the whole COVID thing. Our trade deficit actually increased with China. We did not bring very much manufacturing back here. A little bit, with the CHIPS Act and a few things, but not even close. close to where we're supposed to
the
be.
number was going in the right direction.
It was going up.
The
but,
line,
you know,
the line was
remember,
going up.
if you go down by 90 and you go up by 5, it's like, okay, you're still down 85%. But my point is just, with these rare earth minerals, there has been no plan from the government around a stockpile. It's not like we can look to the, you know, EPA or some other agency, the Energy Department, and have confidence. And they're like, we have gone to Australia and we've ensured that U.S. companies will have preferential export agreements here with our allies. No, instead, we're actually hitting Australia with 10% tariff at the same time. Well, why would they give you anything? They don't want to give us anything.
And we print the world's currency. If we wanted to go into a trade war with China, knowing that they control all of these refined rare earths that we need, knowing that in 2019 they threatened to do this, knowing that they did this to Japan when they were in a trade war with Japan. For 15 years, the Pentagon has been talking about how this is an issue for our defense industrial base and that we should do something about it. We could have, if we chose, created a strategic reserve of these elements.
Yes.
You could have bought them up. We do it with, like you said, we do it with oil. We decided not to, and then we went in and started this trade war without the cards made in China. And here we are. Before the show, I was mentioning, we talked about this on the show on Wednesday because China, I think it was on Tuesday that China announced that they were going to slap these export licenses on these products. And so it was clear, it was only in the trade press at the time, but it was clear, like, oh, export licenses, I don't think you're going to be able to get an export license if you're...
I think I broke it down on Tuesday's show. People can go roll the tape. It was in the Financial Times. It's there. But like, they're not.
But then the mainstream press is picking it up like a week later, and the U.S. being like, wait a minute, we didn't see this one coming. Now you need a dysprosium guy if you're going to like keep your lines running.
Yeah, I hope we have a good dysprosium.
Do you have a good dysprosium guy?
Yeah, do you have your dysprosium? I don't. I confess, you know. Hope one of the cameras in this studio doesn't break, by the way, but I wonder where they're all made from.
Yes, go down to a one-camera shot.
Can we put, let's see, A9, please, up on the screen? Because this does a really good job, this Financial Times tear sheet, of showing where all of the, like the major concentrations of goods from China. It's even more shocking sometimes, even when you look at it. 80% of smartphones, 66% of laptops, and that is only the finished product. I'm not even talking about the input products. Some 69% of lithium-ion batteries. You have 3/4 of all children's toys. You have 50% of headphones. You've got 56% of sports footwear. You've got 53% of rubber footwear, ceramic sinks. I mean, you know, you can go down the line for video game consoles, 86%, electric fans, 88%, Christmas festivity goods, 87%. I guess we won't be saying Merry Christmas in December. Stainless steel
China won the war on
goods,
Christmas.
86%. You know, plastic kitchenware, 80%. Now, do you need a fulfilled life and have plastic kitchenware? I don't even use plastic kitchenware, I can tell you that, because I'm concerned about some of the inputs and all that. But yeah, is it that easy to buy? No, it's not. You know, and you know why people use it? Because it's convenient and because it's cheap. Can we blame them? No, not in the current economy that we're in. If we want all as a country to be buying like Lodge, you know, cast iron steel pans and stuff like, I'm all for it. But you know, you need a real cultural revolution, I think, in terms of convenience and the way that our entire society and daily life and all of that is structured. You know, right now it's like weirdos and crunchy granola moms who are into that stuff, but the rest of the world the rest of the country is trying to eat, and they're trying to make sure that you can work 2 jobs and not be bankrupt, you know, rather than have to rely on a lot of these other health concerns or whatever. And that's kind of my point around the entire thing. We are so dramatically reliant on China, and I would love to be able to change that. I don't think it's made our lives materially much richer. However, with no government dollar-for-dollar policy, industrial policy, I mean, just general like theory about preparation, how can the public not conclude that this is not just a chaotic process that with a net effect that will just make everybody much worse off in the immediate term? That's effectively what has happened here.
Yeah, and the structure of the deal that we had cut with China was effectively, like you said, designed in Cupertino. So Cupertino's going to do they're going to have the nice cushy laptop jobs.
Yes.
And China's going to make those laptops for those laptop jobs. And the Cupertino people are going to make most of the money out of that. Like, this is
Intel is the same thing.
All the major amount of wealth is going to flow to these vice presidents, these middle managers,
like a service economy,
and then to the Apple Store employees who are an Apple Store employee makes more than if you opened a factory and were paying somebody to screw in, like the screws into the iPhone. You're actually paying more for that person there. So that's the deal. Now, and you're seeing this on TikTok all over the place. China's like, you know what? How about we rip that deal up? Like it wasn't that great a deal for us. Like this whole thing where we do the work and we take like a tiny margin on top and you take everything else. It's like you have the military and you have the intellectual property. So we were comfortable with this arrangement for now because it was helping us develop our manufacturing capacity. But now, you know what? We can just go ahead and make the stuff. We have smart executives here. We'll just keep that. We'll steal your IP and we'll just sell the stuff. How do you like that? And we're like, oh, you can do that?
Yeah, well, that's kind of the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, we got some of those TikToks, right?
Let's play one of these TikToks. There's a guy who has apparently
bunch
been
of
going
these
viral
dudes. It's so
on
good.
TikTok, and not just him. There's many others who are just blowing up on TikTok right now. I hate that I even have to say those words, but let's talk about this before we can. At the very same time that the TikTok is obviously putting its finger on the algorithm of trying to undermine Trump's tariffs, he's trying to save TikTok. Right? So, a little ironic there. Some of us have warned about that, but he won the youth vote or whatever. So that was worth 34%. Completely reversing his position on it. So these are the types of videos that are going mega viral all across the country right now. Let's take a listen.
Hello from China. Let me show you the United States products in my home. Nothing. Do you have something from China in your home?
You got to give it to the guy. He's right. Yeah, I mean, what does he have? Nothing. Yeah, he doesn't need anything. Right? He's living a fine enough life there in Shenzhen.
Max said he was talking about the move bombing in Philadelphia, and he's digging up our history.
Is he really? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, all right. Look, we can trade insults or whatever. For
I mean,
all day.
If we want to do propaganda about China,
that's right. There's fine.
The U.S. What does Trump say? We're not innocent either.
Yeah. That's right. Look, I mean, when you go over there and you talk, I've met many Chinese people who are just like wholehearted CCC believers, and they're always like, you're gonna lecture me? They're like, what about Chicago? What about? And I'm like, it's got a good point. Yeah, it's one of those where, listen, I do encourage people to visit China if you're able to, and to talk to Chinese people, especially around this, because a lot of them don't care nearly as much actually as some of the people over here. And part of the reason why is it's pretty clear, as you could see, where he just said, he's like, we don't have any products from you that's made in my home. Now, that may not technically be true, designed in Cupertino, et cetera. We can hit him back with like, oh, well, you never designed that. It's like, yeah, but they've also got, it's not like we have a monopoly on smartphones. They've got Huawei phones. They're pretty good, actually.
Yeah, and at least we don't sweep people off the streets just for writing op-eds.
Oh, right.
Oh, wait, no, never mind.
All right, Ryan, all right. Yeah, it's a little different, but we'll get to that.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay, it's not different per se in this case, but on a mass scale level. Perhaps you're right. 10 years from now,
we do allow people to criticize our country, just not Israel.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Okay, so that's an important caveat. In the point, finally, around all of this is just to show people how they have a tremendous amount of leverage on the refined rare earth minerals. They have incredible state capacity, and this is one thing I do not want people to miss. Let's put this last part up on the screen. A10, please. So I mentioned this on our Friday show, but I really want to underscore JD.com, which is one of those massive e-commerce giants. It's one of the biggest companies in the global 500. It says they are going to purchase 200 billion won, equivalent to $27 billion of goods from Chinese exporters, quote, to help manufacturers shift to the domestic market. The Chinese company also said Friday it would provide training, subsidies, and other support for export-oriented manufacturers to sell their products in China. That is what a functioning state looks like. So you're in the middle of a trade war. Your greatest importer and reliable, quote, trading partner cuts you off. So what do? You mobilize the full capacity of the state and you order your equivalent of like Amazon or, whatever, Wayfair, et cetera, one of those types of companies, actually, frankly, bigger in terms of market cap. And you say, hey, we've allowed you guys to operate now for some years. You're going to pump $27 billion into the economy. And now you multiply that times 100. And you have a state which is able to mobilize the full force of so-called private government, which isn't or private industry, not really private, it's government controlled. The full government already, if you read, again, all you have to do is go read what they say they're going to do. They have full control over their currency. They're going to manipulate their currency. They have full control over their interest rates. They're going to drop interest rates, make borrowing costs much easier on the overall domestic. They're going to pump billions of dollars into their domestic economy to make sure that their manufacturers do not miss a beat and can continue to supply the Chinese market. They're currently on a global campaign trying to strike deals with U.S. allies, exporters who feel very snubbed. President Xi Jinping will be in Vietnam today. Remember, Vietnam is the #8 trading partner of the United States of America, and Vietnam actually was a major success story in overall U.S. efforts to try to cultivate a manufacturing base outside of China. There have been accusations there's been a transshipping hub, etc. But 60-some% of the Vietnamese people, even after what we did to them, are actually very approving of the United States of America, and we're ready to do business. It's called the Communist Party in the same way the Chinese are, but that's what they're doing over there. Right. And meanwhile, they strike deals with the Europeans about BYD cars, right? So they have a full strategy. They know exactly what they're doing. Over here, we've got Howard Lutnick and Trump changing their mind every 24 hours. Who would you rather do business with today? This is not caping for China. I just respect them. You have to respect competence. What we see here is a complete incompetence with devastating results for real people. These are people's lives. Screw even the retirement accounts and all that stuff. People are just gonna start getting laid off, like in the next month. That's step one. And there's no private capacity. There's no CCP to pay for your health care or make sure you get an apartment. Right. You're on your own in this country.
Yes, and the move that is available to them that they're wisely taking isn't available to us on the flip side. In other words, we have to try to increase supply. We have to try to build manufacturing capacity overnight. They have to just find demand somehow. It is much easier, think about it, it's much easier to increase demand. And that's a great example of how they did it. $27 billion, you made a bunch of crap that you were gonna sell to the United States, but now you can't sell it. We're gonna buy a bunch of that stuff. And they're going to get creative, and they're going to find other places. With currency manipulation and with state subsidies, they will move it into Africa, South Asia, Europe, like you just mentioned, South America. A lot of these countries are going to get some real good deals on some Chinese stuff, and maybe that produces long-lasting relationships. And it could, let's say, in East Africa, it could end up, with a little bit of economic stimulus, because then the products come in, and then the products get resold on the secondary market, and that creates jobs for people, and it creates a chain then between those countries and China. That's so much easier to think through and to do, especially if you're planning it from the top, than it is to create supply overnight.
Yes,
especially when the inputs to make that supply are controlled by China. It's so comically stupid that it could never have worked in this way. The only thing the U.S. could have done and could still do is invest in its own manufacturing capacity.
Yes.
Invest in education and building up a trade workforce, subsidize the construction of manufacturing facilities, and then use American diplomatic power to create markets for those companies. And then down the road, if they're deeply struggling, you can do targeted tariffs, on the particular industry. That could work. Like doesn't take a genius to come up with that. But this never was going to work.
No. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.